Can you imagine being completely alone? I mean, really alone, with no one around for miles and miles? No friends, no family, no one to help you, no one to talk to? That's exactly what happened to Robinson Crusoe, a man who found himself in the most dire of circumstances. He was shipwrecked on a deserted island, far from civilization. Can you imagine the terror, the despair, the overwhelming sense of isolation? Robinson Crusoe's story is one of the most amazing survival tales ever told, showcasing human endurance. It's all about courage, resourcefulness, and the will to live against all odds. The book, written by Defoe, is a classic that has stood the test of time. It's a story that everyone should read at least once in their lifetime. This story is especially important for young people like you, as it offers valuable life lessons. It teaches you about resilience, determination, and never giving up. It shows you that you can overcome anything, no matter how insurmountable it may seem. No matter how tough things get, there's always hope. So buckle up and get ready. Get ready for a wild ride through one of the most incredible stories ever told. We're about to dive into the incredible and inspiring story of Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe loved the sea. He dreamed of adventure and the thrill of exploring the unknown. But his first voyage turned into a nightmare, one that he would never forget. A ferocious storm struck his ship with a vengeance, catching everyone off guard. Waves crashed onto the deck, drenching everything in sight and making the ship lurch violently. The wind howled like a wild animal, its roar deafening. Fear gripped Robinson's heart as he clung to the railing. He thought he was going to die, the terror etched on his face. The ship was tossed about like a toy boat in a bathtub. Masts snapped like twigs, sails ripped to shreds, flapping uselessly in the wind. The crew battled desperately against the storm's fury, their efforts seeming futile. Days turned into nights, and still the storm raged on. Robinson clung to a piece of wreckage, his strength waning. He was exhausted, his body battered by the relentless waves. He was terrified, but he was determined to survive, his willpower stronger than the storm. Then, just when all hope seemed lost, the storm began to subside. The waves calmed, and the wind died down, leaving an eerie silence. Robinson, battered and bruised, found himself washed up on a beach. He was alive. The ordeal had ended, but his adventure was just beginning. Robinson Crusoe staggered to his feet, his legs trembling from exhaustion and the shock of the ordeal. He looked around in disbelief, his eyes wide with confusion and fear. He was on an island, a lush, green island, teeming with dense vegetation and the sounds of unknown wildlife. But there was no sign of his ship or his crewmates. He was completely alone. Panic surged through him as he realized the gravity of his situation. He raced along the beach, desperately searching for any sign of life, any clue that he wasn't the only survivor. But there was nothing. Just the sound of the waves crashing against the shore and the cries of unfamiliar birds filled the air, adding to his sense of isolation. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows on the deserted beach, the reality of his situation sunk in. He was stranded, alone. The weight of solitude pressed heavily on his shoulders. With no food, no water, and no shelter, the island seemed both beautiful and menacing. Fear gnawed at his courage. What would he do? How would he survive in this unknown land? But Robinson Crusoe was a resourceful man. He wouldn't give up. He knew he had to act quickly. He knew he had to stay strong to keep his wits about him if he was to survive. He had to find a way to survive. Gathering his resolve, he began to search for food, water, and materials to build a shelter. Before we continue, if you're enjoying the content, hit like and subscribe for more insightful summaries. The first days were the hardest. Robinson Crusoe was starving. He was thirsty. He had to find food and water. He had to build a shelter. He had to protect himself from the unknown dangers of the island. He explored his new surroundings cautiously. He discovered a freshwater spring. He found fruit trees laden with ripe fruit. He learned to identify edible plants. Slowly, he began to provide for his basic needs. Using wreckage from the ship, he built a crude shelter. It wasn't much, but it offered some protection from the elements. He scavenged tools and supplies from the wreckage. Each salvaged item was a victory, a sign that he was not giving up. As days turned into weeks, Robinson Crusoe's despair began to transform into determination. He refused to be defeated by his circumstances. He would not only survive, he would build a life for himself on this island. He began to explore the island more confidently. He discovered a herd of wild goats. He learned to hunt them, using his ingenuity to create traps and weapons. He found a valley teeming with fruit trees and planted his own crops. He built a larger, more comfortable home. He crafted furniture and utensils. He kept a journal, documenting his experiences and his thoughts. He created a calendar, marking the passing of time. Life on the island wasn't easy. Robinson Crusoe faced many dangers. Wild animals threatened his safety. He had to learn to defend himself. He faced storms and natural disasters. He had to rebuild his shelter and protect his crops. One day he discovered human footprints on the beach. He was terrified. He was not alone on this island. He lived in fear of cannibals, who he knew visited the island from time to time. He fortified his home and became even more vigilant. But through it all, Robinson Crusoe persevered. He faced each challenge with courage and resourcefulness. He learned to adapt to his environment and overcome every obstacle. He proved that even in the face of danger, the human spirit can triumph. One day, Robinson Crusoe's life changed forever. He rescued a young native from the cannibals. He named him Friday, after the day of the week he found him. Friday became his companion, his friend, and his student. Robinson taught Friday English and shared his knowledge of tools, farming, and Christianity. Friday, in turn, taught Robinson about the island's plants and animals. He helped Robinson build a canoe and explore new parts of the island. For the first time in years, Robinson Crusoe was not alone. He had a friend. He had someone to share his life with. He had someone to care for. Robinson Crusoe spent many years on the island. He faced countless challenges and experienced incredible adventures. He learned to survive against all odds. He learned the true meaning of resilience and resourcefulness. Finally, after 28 years, a ship arrived. Robinson Crusoe was rescued. He returned to England a changed man. He had faced the ultimate test of survival and emerged victorious. Robinson Crusoe's story teaches us that even in the darkest of times, we must never give up hope. We must never stop fighting for survival. We must always believe in our ability to overcome adversity. So the next time you face a challenge, remember Robinson Crusoe. Remember his courage, remember his determination, and remember, you are capable of amazing things. We reached the end, but before you leave, join our community of passionate readers by simply subscribing to our channel, where your love for knowledge and great stories truly matters.